Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and now you're all having a great day. This is a weekend edition video, if you will, where I step a bit back from the normal news and I kind of talk about other topics that are happening in the cryptocurrency community. As you may have noticed, Bitcoin is heavily in the news the last couple of weeks as people are trying to speculate exactly where Bitcoin is going to go over the next couple of weeks. Recently, someone from the UBS said that Bitcoin could replace the US dollar, and this has been echoed many times, but there was never an actual timeline for this, if you will. Many people have kept on saying that they believe that at some point in the possible future, Bitcoin could either become the one world currency or will eventually replace the US dollar as it continues to rise in value. Zurich-based investment bank and financial services company Union Bank of Switzerland, or the UBS, has said that Bitcoin's price must hit nearly $213,000 per coin to replace the United States money supply. This was reported by Bloomberg on the 2nd of August. According to Bloomberg, a new report by UBS suggests that BTC cannot currently be considered money or a viable asset as its versatility is stymied by the capacity constraints of the Bitcoin network. The report says, our findings suggest that Bitcoin in its current form is too unstable and limited to become a viable means of payment for global transactions or a mainstream asset class. The report states that while digital currencies can potentially become an alternative asset class, their prices are likely to remain volatile. The volume of Bitcoin used in commerce declined significantly during the last year since its peak of 411 million in September 2017, per a recent survey by market report firm Chainalysis. Regarding price volatility in crypto markets, senior economist at Chainalysis, Kim Grauer, said, when the price was going up so rapidly last year, in one day you could lose $1,000 if you spent it. This is one of the main arguments a lot of people are saying. Why would you ever want to spend your Bitcoin if you can pretty much hold on to it forever? If estimates are correct and we do eventually get to a place where Bitcoin is, let's say, worth $1 million in 2030, you buying something potentially for $1,000 could potentially mean that you are spending a couple of $100,000 right now. So this has been one of the main arguments as to why people probably don't want to spend their Bitcoin. A senior researcher at the International Computer Science Institute, Nicholas Weaver, told Bloomberg that digital currency is not actually usable as a form of payment, citing high transactions fees as the main reason. While the UBS report states that the Bitcoin network's processing efficiency must significantly improve in order to be an effective form of payment, some BTC evangelists believe that the leading digital currency will become the world's single payment method. In March, the CEO of both Twitter and payment service Square, his name is Jack Dorsey, said that he sees Bitcoin as the world's single future currency, the emergence of which will take probably over 10 years, but it could go faster. This has been, not to get too deep into what a lot of people have been saying about the price of Bitcoin. I'm sure if you've watched my other videos, you have definitely seen what people believe that Bitcoin will eventually be worth. On the larger end of all of it, this is the first time that I think we have an actual number of $213,000 that Bitcoin has to hit in order to become or to replace the US money supply. Typically, when we hear about all of this, it usually comes down to how Bitcoin can replace fiat money in the world economy. We kind of get an entire thing. The $213,000 has been rather, let's say, like some other similar numbers. For instance, we have $150,000 by 2021. This is actually one of the lower 2021s. A lot of 2021s typically say around, let's say, 200,000 to $250,000. We also have Tim Draper, who said that by 2022, Bitcoin will be $250,000 per coin. That means that at that point, the US dollar would probably be in a lot of trouble. But like I said, so we've had countless estimates, and what it comes down to is that I can't remember the exact name of the thing, but I think it's called the network effect. It's pretty much the amount of people using it, or rather the price of Bitcoin will continue to grow higher and higher. The more people that enter the network, the more people that are actually not even using Bitcoin, but have entered the network and have bought a significant or a tiny amount of Bitcoin, especially as we get to further periods where the amount of Bitcoin that's created actually also gets cut in half. So this is I want to say something to look forward to. I assume we're all very curious as to where the price of Bitcoin will go, because in the end, you kind of don't want to be that person who, like, what did he bought a couple of pizzas for like 10,000 Bitcoin or something like that, because a couple of years ago, no one could have ever seen what the price of Bitcoin could have become right now, or even what it was last December. So, I mean, realistically, mathematically, no one actually knows if this is ever going to happen, but it seems plausible by the numbers that have been thrown around over the last couple of years. So, not to dig too deep on this either. The topic has been, how do I say this? How could Bitcoin become so large that you couldn't kind of ignore it anymore? It pretty much comes down to, if 5% of the world's GDP moves into cryptocurrency, then the value of the cryptocurrency market will be around $4.55 trillion. This is something that a lot of people, even the people who are not even just Bitcoin evangelists, but actual crypto evangelists, believe that we are going to hit relatively soon. It's estimated that I don't know this. No one really knows at this point, that during the next boom, that is the next crypto market explosion, that we are probably going to go over $1 trillion. And at that point, once we hit over $1 trillion, this will start to cause other people to want to get into the market, because they will be able to see exactly how much money that other people have made. And it kind of comes down to the approval of the ETF, the approval of a bunch of other things. And it kind of, when you have big money getting into it, this is kind of when the rest of the money slides into the market. And it's been thought for many times that even not going forward in the future, where Bitcoin could potentially take over the world, it's a matter of how big Bitcoin could get before many countries around the world actually end up accepting it as their currency, simply because Bitcoin, while not necessarily deflationary, isn't inflationary, especially when the last one ends up being mined. And we're going to enter a world eventually where it's predicted that Bitcoin will be the strongest currency, simply because you cannot create more of it, and everyone who's holding it will probably not want to spend it, and therefore this will also cause some type of effect where the price continues to skyrocket, because no one it's all supply and demand. The supply is not there, but the demand will completely outweigh it as more countries kind of jump onto the boat, if you will. Last thing about this in this entire topic is Goldman Sachs said yesterday that Bitcoin is never coming back. They like to talk a bit about, or they are often in the news, especially Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, a lot of other banks, when the price of Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are going down. One of the main things that they consistently echo is that Bitcoin is dead. There are actually articles on Google, you can find these. I think someone actually has a calendar of every time that Bitcoin has been declared dead. I think it's over a couple hundred times now. I think there was actually like a celebration a couple of weeks ago, because I think we had passed by the 200th time or something ridiculous like that. Goldman Sachs's investment strategy group says Bitcoin will continue to decline. It also says the virtual currency meets none of the three definitions of usable money and makes up just 0.3% of global GDP. I'll get back to that in a second. Bitcoin has declined by 45% in 2018, and I'm not going to click on that. The point is, their argument is that after only 9 years of being around, Bitcoin is unusable and will continue to decline, as it only makes up 0.3% of the entire global GDP. Keeping in mind, once again, that Bitcoin is only 9 years old and is expected to, at some point, hit around $60,000 per coin. This is also one of the price projections or predictions, whatever you want to call them, that people are talking about this year as well. How close will we be to being over 1% when we hit that price? How close will we be when we are even closer to the 5%? I think a lot of people think, because of where Bitcoin is now, because the price has fallen during this year, that apparently we are completely out. The market will never recover. On the topic of Goldman Sachs, things like this used to actually bother me, and I remember hearing for a long time, whenever these banks and stuff would kind of come out, it would always kind of rattle the market, simply because a lot of people didn't know what to think. Whenever you hear someone who has a lot more money than you, or especially people who are billionaires and who control the financial system, say something negative about something that you have invested in, you kind of get a bit scared. So on the topic of them saying Bitcoin is never coming back, like I always say, this is why I love the internet, because it takes a couple of seconds to find all this information. This year, in 2018 alone, 7 months into the year, on this topic, Goldman Sachs has also backed Circle, which is another cryptocurrency platform, Goldman Sachs has also hired a crypto trader. Goldman Sachs says it is arrogant to think cryptocurrency won't be successful. This was less than a month ago. Goldman Sachs has also, their new CEO, David Solomon, is keen on Bitcoin and crypto. And finally, Goldman Sachs is exploring crypto derivatives, says its COO. Whenever you hear intensely negative news, I've told people this before, I don't know how many people remember this. Whenever someone, especially a bank or a mega bank or a central bank, takes time out of their day to say something negative about crypto, it is because they are afraid of it. I don't care what you think. I don't care how much money you assume that they have and how they might not be afraid of it. If something does not bother you or rattle you, you do not talk about it. If you have ever come to a situation where you are talking about something the entire day, that's because it bothers you. They've done nonstop over the last 4 to 5 years, especially as Bitcoin crossed around $1,000, and I think it went back down to around 200. This is when the onslaught began. They relentless, nonstop. The funniest part is they are also the same exact people who are buying into the cryptocurrency space. Like I always say, I cannot and will not tell you what to do with your money. This is not me telling you to invest or put money into Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, but make sure, not even reading between the lines, just read the articles. They are definitely into Bitcoin. They're probably mining Bitcoin themselves. If they're not doing it in their offices or somewhere in their building, they definitely have given money to some other institution who is definitely mining cryptocurrency so that they can make money from it. We know that a number of other countries are also, if they are not stealing Bitcoin from each other, they're also mining it themselves. I still think that crypto has an incredibly bright future ahead of it. I think we're going to enter a time where I don't know how many other people have seen my other videos, but I think we're going to enter a time where the love that we see for Bitcoin from the governments, in that they really don't care about it and that they are saying it is not a threat. When Bitcoin eventually becomes a threat, I wonder exactly how they're going to be able to handle it, because when Bitcoin crosses around the $100,000 mark, we will be almost halfway to the point of no return where Bitcoin is then able to replace the US money supply. It is projected when Bitcoin's value, that is the total market cap, is ranging in the anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 trillion dollars, Bitcoin will no longer have these major fluctuations. One of the major arguments against Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies is that the fluctuations are far too high. Why would you ever spend this? Why would you ever do anything with this or, use it on a daily basis? Because when Bitcoin, a couple of years ago, if you were paying attention to the market, we had certain days where the market would go up by 45%, and that same evening would go down by around 65%. The next morning it'd be up 22%. Later on that day, be down 35%. We're now entering a time where Bitcoin prices are actually falling sideways, or when it does go down, it goes down by around 6 to 7%, and this makes headlines. When we reach trillion-dollar valuations, the price of Bitcoin will possibly, maybe, on certain days, go down by 0.5% to 1%, the same as many other global currencies. And if Bitcoin should ever hit a value of $500,000, which many people are predicting within the next 5 to 7 years, Bitcoin would probably be the most stable currency that we've ever known on Earth. Just thought I'd, give you guys some great words for the weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys are enjoying your day wherever you are, wherever you might be. Don't let anyone intimidate you or tell you not to even just look deeper into cryptocurrencies. There's a reason why all these banks are talking about it. There's a reason why the Union Bank of Switzerland has decided to talk about how the price of Bitcoin could reach a certain amount that it could replace US money. This is not happening because they like to have fun with these things. Always remember, these companies and organizations and banks are all about the money. They are doing it because they're doing the calculations themselves. And this is why a couple of weeks ago, when Congress had a meeting talking to other people who were talking about Bitcoin and its future, one of the main things that they kept on saying was, could cryptocurrencies be a threat to the US dollar? Because I think they see what's coming. As always, thank you once again for watching and or listening. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you all soon. See you.